Welcome back to Henry Harrison's Entrepreneurs, Business, and Finance podcast featuring JamAI founder Jam Anderson. Before we get started, like and subscribe so you don't miss another episode. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the show, the Henry Harrison podcast, Entrepreneurs, Business, and Finance. Today, we're very glad to have Robin Jam Anderson here with us, and she is the founder of Jam AI. So, welcome to the show, and hello, Jam.
Hello, so nice to meet you. Thanks for having me today.
So, we got to start with the first thing, Robert Jam Anderson. I don't think Jam is actually your middle name. I'm guessing. So somehow you come up with that nickname and you say you answer to both because we visited briefly before
Yep.
the podcast. How did you get the name Jam? It sounds pretty cool to me.
So it's actually funny. I met my husband, we started dating like 15 years ago or so. And in my 20s, I liked to do karaoke. It was one of my favorite things to do. And he was just shocked because I actually owned a business at that time too. And I had a lot going on and was keeping up with the tech industry, e-commerce industry at that time. But I also showed him that I knew pretty much every rap lyric to every song from the 2000s hip hop era. And basically, he was like, how do you get all this stuff done when you have all these jams in your head? You're always jamming out, nonstop jamming. And just like randomly in between conversations, a song would come on and I would just say all the lyrics. And he just started calling me Jam because I'm always jamming out in my head. And then it just stuck, and my friends started calling me Jam. My mom started calling me Jam, and now I'm Mama Jam to the kids. And yeah, it just stuck. And I thought I'd just lean into it and name my company Jam AI as well. So that's where it came from.
And I said Jam AI, but is it actually the domain name? Is it jamout.ai?
That's the domain name, but the company name is Jam AI.
Okay, because I call it Jam AI, and then I thought, yeah, so good. So you can find, everybody can find you on jamout.ai, but the company is jam.ai. And what a cool nickname to, you probably weren't thinking about you're going to name a company that way when you started jamming in your head.
No.
So what does your company do, and what do you do in the company?
Yeah. So I started Jam AI in 2023, and it was born because I was looking to leave the current company I was at. I worked inside agencies my entire life, and in 2022, I decided I wanted to do more of a training role. I was interested in doing sales and marketing training, and I was building this company, and then of course AI came out. And I saw the writing on the wall right away that everything I've ever done inside agencies, which was website design and development, digital marketing, content creation, video creation, I saw that AI was about to take over all of it and be inside all of it. And I decided at that time to not launch my business that I was working on and instead lean into AI training. And it's interesting to start a company on training something that's just rolling out. But I figured as long as I could stay a few steps ahead of everyone else, I'd be a good trainer in the beginning. Yeah, I launched JamAI in 2023, and I teach non-technical small business owners how to use AI. And I also bring in those sales and marketing traditional fundamentals that they can then put AI inside of.
Next cool thing is just looking at your website. You even have it for working out. Did,
Yeah.
did I get that right? So there's so many applications, but that just jumped out as me as not one you typically see,
Yeah.
unless it's a health company or a gym or something.
Well, I use it for every aspect of my life. And in fact, when I was first starting out, I did a AI training for moms because I run a group in the neighborhood I live in. I have 3,000 people in a Facebook group. It was called Working Moms of Our Neighborhood. And I got everyone together in person, and it was my very first AI presentation. And it was how to use AI with your kids and creating custom scavenger hunts and coloring pages with their faces on it. So I've always been integrating AI into every aspect of my personal life and my work life.
And you have, I noticed, a club, I'll call it, with weekly, almost daily meetings where members can jump on. Tell me how that works.
Yeah, so basically, when I started JamAI, I kept creating content, like course content. And the problem with that is the minute I would hit publish, it was pretty much outdated because things are just changing so quickly. So I decided to start Club Jam, which is my online community. We just hit 300 members last week, and it's basically an online portal where I bring in AI experts from around the world and I train myself as well. And we get together 3 to 4 times a week for training. We do all sorts of training on things that are hot in the industry or just recently released AI. So, for instance, last week, ChatGPT released Image 2.0, which is this amazing image generation tool. And so we immediately put together a training on that. I also run sprints, and we're about to start our 6 week quad sprint where we do daily training. So they're 10-minute micro lessons that I put together. And then we meet live on Thursdays to discuss what we're learning that week. So, yeah, we do that for 6 weeks, and then we'll do a rest week and start our next sprint. And I also have celebrities coming to Club Jam, which is really fun. I have a friend of mine, Sabrina Romanov, coming to talk to us on May 7th, and then have some others lined up as well that I'm super excited about.
Wow. So it sounds like you help people keep up with or enable them to keep up with the rapid changing and then are also collaborative, right? I imagine they're weighing in with, so I'm in a group, several groups I've been in, but Entrepreneurs Organization, it's peer mentoring is I guess maybe the purpose or goal. And that
Yeah.
sounds like that is a similar thing. You get peers on, they're all working on AI. You're there to guide it, but they can contribute. Do I have that right?
Totally. Yeah, they can contribute. And we have it looks just like a social media site when you log in. So people are always posting questions, they're answering each other's questions, they're posting wins, things that they've built. We have challenges too, so they can post what they did in the challenge. So yeah, it's a really collaborative space. And as far as training and learning, it's by far been the best experience that I've had. And I've worked inside so many different platforms at this point. So I really love it.
Talk about challenges and wins. What are some examples without giving away anything that a client wouldn't want to share? But what's an example of some wins and some obstacles that they were able to overcome using with your help?
Yeah, yeah. So I have a member, and he's actually a magician. So I have all sorts of different small business owners, but one of my members is a magician, but he also teaches marketing to other magicians. So talk about having a niche. But one thing that came to surface was we were doing a Claude training class, and he just had this light bulb moment while we were doing the training. And he realized that he could actually build this piece of technology himself that goes onto his website that he was paying $3,000 every quarter for, which is a huge expense for a small business owner. So he realized that he could build this extension in his WordPress site by himself with Claude and ended up saving $12,000 a year. So that was a really cool win. Another win is this woman named Rhonda in our group. She has zero design development background at all, just knows how to send emails, pretty much is where she was at when she joined. And she ended up vibe coding a social media posting platform for her business. And so that was one of our challenges was like building what are called skills. And she built this social media posting skill. And I was so impressed. It not only worked, but it looked really good and it was following best practices. So that was awesome. Huge win.
So now, I guess I'll just go ahead and flatter you. Superwoman, husband, family, your own company, working for yourself, saw the
Mhm.
writing on the wall, started early before, because yeah, a lot of people are getting jobs, companies getting replaced.
Yeah.
And but you didn't start out. You started out as a kid like everybody else. So when you were a kid, did you ever think you would have your own company and be training and helping people, or is that something that was? What was it like growing up in your family?
What's funny is I think if I could show my 10-year-old self what I'm doing now, I would say, no way, absolutely not. I was super shy until probably I went to college. I was such a quiet, shy kid. And the fact that I do keynote speaking and run workshops and do webinars and podcasts, I would freak out my 10-year-old self by far. But I did grow up in a home where I saw my parents working incredibly hard. So my mom worked for a local grocery store and she was like a head clerk working long hours. My dad did car sales. He used to say he would work the shift ding to dong. So he'd be gone like 8 to 8 or 9 to 9. That was his shift. He was gone all the time. And they worked so, so hard. And I remember thinking, like, wow, they work so hard. And like, we still don't have that much money. Like, we weren't poor at all, but they were able to pay the bills, take us on vacations. But I saw other people in my neighborhood, like friends, parents, who did have their own businesses or took different paths where they weren't working for the man per se. And I saw that they were home for dinner a lot more. They were able to come to our soccer games a lot more. And I just felt really bad for my parents for how hard they were working and how it seemed like they weren't being rewarded as much as they should be. So that's what I saw growing up. And in me, it lit a fire of I want to work hard, but I want to not put limits on what I could do.
Oh, this is actually your second business based on your LinkedIn profile. So
Yes.
what was it that, so I guess you had that perspective that be smart about your time and your quality of life. And certainly if you want to be a mom and a healthy
Mhm.
family with time to spend with each other, that's pretty neat. When you started your first business, what was the precipitating event or what caused you to go ahead and start that one and then this one as well?
Let's see, at that time, I think I was 25, 24, 25 when I first started. And honestly, I was working at an agency at the time, and timing had a lot to do with it because it was the boom of SEO and e-commerce. So that's what was happening in like 2008, 2009. And basically, the agency that I was working for was not allowing me to sell what I wanted to sell. Like, I saw that I was being asked for things. I was working for a web development agency as a business development person. I was commission only. That's one way to start out your career, but commission only sales. And so, of course, when I heard people ask for things, I wanted to sell them. And at the time, I was also training for fitness competitions. And so I was either at work or at the gym. And one day I was at the gym and just was talking to a group of people about what I did and ended up meeting a guy who was a developer. And he's, I could build all that stuff. So I just ended up like, okay, why don't I try to sell a few of these? And it was pure ignorance on my part of not having a business plan, taking a total chance and risk on somebody I didn't know. And also just because I was so young, I didn't have, like, I had a $500 rent payment to take care of, and that was about it, right? I didn't have a lot of risk. So I was able to just try this. And long story short, we ended up growing the company. We had 22 employees at our peak. And I call this my master's in business because I learned all of the things you should do and not do. And basically, we ended up building this business and then lighting it on fire, burning it to the ground at the end, pretty much because of just some interesting choices along the way. But what happened is I ended up also meeting my husband and wanting to get married at that time. And so I went from running this company, trying to save this company, working 80 hours a week, sometimes more, to getting married and saying, okay, I want to reset. I don't want to do that anymore. It's too chaotic, it's stressful. So I was able to go back and work for another agency for a few years. I called it my mom life job. Like I was able to have kids, work part-time, ease my way back in after I became a mom because that changes everything. And it was really cool because when my daughter turned about 5 or 6, my youngest, I realized I was ready for more. And that's when I was able to start my own thing again. And I was much more conscious about what I was doing, what's my plan, what are my goals, who's my audience. Starting a second business is so much different than starting one on accident in the first place.
And that's hard to go through that with all those people and yeah, wanting to save it, concerned about all the people. But so many people that are entrepreneurs have had that, or in some cases, I use the Elon Musk example a lot because he was almost bankrupt a few times in his career, like days away. And so if and he's doing all right, so
It
we can
all
all do all
ended
right.
it all ended just right. It all ended how it was supposed to. And two of my employees got married, so that was cool. They met each other through our company. So I always look at the bright side, and everything's a learning experience. And you're right, so many entrepreneurs go through that. And the more I'm open about that story, the more people have told me their stories of starting something and blowing it up, but how that made their next thing so much better.
We had Scott Kelly on the podcast. He has a fast pitch company. He's a lifelong investment banker, venture capital guy, and doesn't want to retire, so he started again. And but they focus on small businesses. And one of the things he was talking about below the normal venture capital, so more individual angel type investors. And what he was saying is that kind of ties into your employees this time and be more conscious that there's so many companies now that are smaller that are doing the work of what would have been 10 times the number of people
Yeah.
because they're using AI and they're able to generate revenue right away without the same level of capital investment that would have been required. He went through the whole .com thing, which you were just talking about was kind of that was actually one of the, yeah, the internet,
Another boom. Yes, there's been a
yeah,
few
another boom.
booms.
Yeah, and you're right there in that sweet spot where I don't know, you may decide to add people, but I found it interesting on your website. You have agents, which are AI agents. So you have images of people that are going to be agents that will presumably work for your clients, the way I understood it. So you're leveraging all that AI to add value.
Yeah. Yeah. If you look at the about page on our website, I have two humans that do work with me. And it's been interesting because Flora, she's been with me since the very beginning, and her role keeps getting taken over by AI. So I keep wanting her to work with me because I love her and I love working with her, but I keep having to redirect her because her role keeps getting taken over. She was supposed to be in charge of sales, finding prospects at first. That's been taken over by Claude with Appify. She was supposed to do my social media. That got taken over by Repurpose and Claude Code. So yeah, now she's actually helping me find podcasts to be on. And I called her my personal wrangler. So now her job is to make sure that I'm staying on task. And then, yeah, the AI agents on my site, if you click into them, those are called custom GPTs. And they're mostly examples for people just to see what you could do, but they're all trained on a very specific item in my business or role in my business that they do.
When you were in college, technical journalism and communications, that was a degree I see on LinkedIn.
Yes, it was. You
So
know,
I'm not sure I know what technical journalism is, but you're not, where I'm going with this is you're not a programmer, I don't think. And you're teaching AI, and I think you learned a lot of that yourself. So that's also interesting. I don't know that you could do that with programming. I'm sure it could be self-taught programmers, but it's not as common. And programs getting taken over more by AI too.
yeah.
So speak to that because I think it might make people feel more comfortable. You weren't programming in college, so
Yeah.
and now you're teaching AI. which is not exactly like programming, but it's certainly technical. So what was the degree?
Technical journalism and communications. And the only thing that really fits what I'm doing is public speaking. So that's transferred over. But the interesting part, so I'm sure you've heard of prompting. That's how
Oh,
you,
yeah, sure.
yeah. So communications rolls in and it becomes very helpful because prompting is how you communicate with AI. And I'm not saying that I studied communications back in 2006, 7 for prompting AI, but what's helped me over my multiple careers, but mostly working in web development, web design, is speaking to developers. So my career in agencies was I'm speaking with the client and I have to speak to developers on what the client wants, right? So my whole life I've been taking these large projects, breaking them down, telling developers, hey, I need this built this way. And that has transferred over 98% the same because now I'm taking those instructions and explaining them to AI rather than a person. So you don't need to be a programmer or developer to use AI, but you do need to understand how to communicate what you need inside a project.
That makes a lot of sense. Give some numbers because I was glad to see, and they may be a little outdated, but the club that you have, I called it, where people join a meeting if they want to every day, or some people
Mhm.
can. That was a large group. You mentioned even your Facebook was 3,000, so you're impacting a lot of people through the way you're doing your trainings and your collaboration and your consulting.
Yeah. Yeah. And my whole thing is there is a disparity gap happening with people who are fluently using AI and people who are not. And the people who are not are having to work harder and get less, like my parents used to do, right? And I'm seeing that gap right now. And so that's why I'm doing all these webinars and training for free. I'm speaking through score.org, the AO Fund, multiple women's organizations, just trying to get people to understand the concept that you don't need to be technical. You're not too old. It's not too hard. And you should try doing something this new way. And I just ask people to do it for 10 minutes a day. Go and play with it and use something personal. That's why I do workout plans and stuff for my kids. That's how I started to learn because if you can work on something that you're passionate about and learn the tool that way, it makes a lot more sense when you go and try to use it for your business.
Is there anything else you'd like to talk about on your website? You'll do AI consulting. They can join various clubs and groups that you have. You can come, depending on your schedule, I'm sure, but come into their companies or groups and give a public speak, probably also do some training if they want
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, you summed it up. I do one-on-one training, group training, custom webinars, keynote speaking. I highly recommend checking out Club Jam to start. You can start for free for 7 days, non-committal. And yeah, just start there because that's where you learn what there is to play with and what I offer.
Wow, that's really neat.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And I know people are really going to enjoy getting to know you and learning about your journey and all the good things that you offer today.
Well, thank you so much. It's been so nice to talk to you today, Henry.
Thank you for watching Henry Harrison's Entrepreneurs, Business and Finance podcast here on YouTube. Remember to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can also search Henry Harrison Podcast on your favorite podcast platforms.